I watched my boss crumple my medical leave papers into a ball and throw them in the trash at exactly 4:26 on a Wednesday afternoon. And what she didn't know was that at that exact same moment, 3 counties over in the Allegheny courthouse, Judge Robert Mansfield was stamping his approval on my federal lawsuit against the entire company. The timing was so perfect it felt like God himself was writing the script. My name is Daniel Garrett. I'm 42 years old, born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in one of those neighborhoods where the steel mills used to be everything, and now they are just rusted skeletons. I work for Keystone Distribution Services, been there 11 years, doing warehouse management. The pay is $43,000 a year, which sounds okay until you remember this is 2024 and that barely covers a mortgage in Monroeville, car payments on a 7-year-old Ford, and health insurance that covers almost nothing. I've got a wife, Angela, who works part-time at a dental office, and our daughter Sophie. She's 14. We live in a split level that needs a new roof, and every time it rains hard I put buckets in the attic and tell myself next year, we'll have the money to fix it. That's the American middle-class promise right there. Next year. Always next year. Everything changed last July. I was moving pallets in the warehouse when I felt something pop in my lower back. This sharp electrical pain that dropped me to my knees. I'm not a complainer. Never have been. My old man used to say complaining is for people who don't want to work. So I finished my shift, took some Advil, figured it would sort itself out. That's what American men do. We push through. But it got worse. Way worse. By August, I couldn't stand for more than 20 minutes without my left leg going numb. Angela finally made me go to the doctor after she found me at 2 in the morning, lying on the kitchen floor. The MRI showed a herniated disc severe. The doctor said I needed immediate rest and physical therapy. Absolutely no heavy lifting. None of the things my job required 8 hours a day. So I filed for medical leave, FMLA, which is supposed to protect your job when you have serious health conditions. I had all my documentation perfect because I knew they'd be looking for any excuse to deny it. And that's when things got weird. My supervisor, Brenda Hutchins, had been fine for years. But the moment I filed the leave, it was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, I was the problem. Every conversation became cold, hostile. She started writing me up for things that had never been issues before. While I'm dealing with my injury, trying to get treatment that my insurance keeps denying, I start noticing something else. I'm home more, so I actually have time to look at my pay stubs carefully. And I realize the company has been shorting our overtime. Not just me, everyone in our division. They've been playing games with how they calculated hours, and it added up to thousands of dollars per person over the years. I started talking to other guys in the warehouse quietly. This is Western Pennsylvania, not Silicon Valley. When the steel industry collapsed, it took half the region's economy with it. The companies that are still here know they've got us over a barrel. But the more I talked to people, the more I realized this was systematic wage theft affecting maybe 40 people in our facility alone. So I contacted a labor attorney. Catherine Brennan worked out of a small office in Lawrenceville. She looked at everything, the pay stubs, the overtime records, my medical documentation, the write-ups from Brenda, and she said they were breaking multiple federal laws, and the way they were treating me was textbook retaliation. We filed the lawsuit in September. Federal court, class action. The moment the company got served, everything escalated. Brenda went from cold to openly hostile. She'd schedule mandatory meetings during my physical therapy appointments, then write me up for missing them. She'd assign me tasks she knew I physically couldn't do with my back injury, then document that I was refusing to perform my duties. It was psychological warfare designed to make me quit. My family was falling apart under the pressure. Angela and I would fight about whether I should just drop the lawsuit. Sophie stopped asking me to come to her volleyball games because she could see how much pain I was in and she was trying to protect me, which is exactly the kind of thing a 14-year-old shouldn't have to think about. We'd lie awake at night doing the math over and over. How long could we survive if I lost my job? But there was this other thing too. This particularly American stubbornness I inherited from my father. My grandfather worked in the steel mills during the Union Wars of the 60s. He got his ribs broken on a picket line fighting for basic safety equipment. He used to tell me that every single right workers have in this country came because somebody was willing to take a beating for it. And yeah, maybe that's outdated thinking, but I couldn't shake it. The preliminary hearing was in March. Judge Mansfield seemed fair but cautious. Our attorney felt optimistic but warned me that nothing in the American legal system is guaranteed, especially when you're a warehouse worker going up against a company with unlimited legal resources. The waiting was torture. At work, the atmosphere was poisonous. Half my coworkers were grateful someone was finally standing up. The other half thought I was risking everyone's jobs. Then came that Wednesday, April 17th. Brenda called me into her office at 4:15. She said the company had rejected my accommodation requests, said if I couldn't perform my full job duties, then perhaps I needed to consider whether this was the right position for me. The threat was crystal clear. Then she pulled out my medical leave paperwork, the original forms from August. She looked me dead in the eye and crumpled them into a ball, slowly, deliberately. Then she tossed them in the trash like they were a McDonald's wrapper. She said, "We're done here, Daniel." I looked at the clock on her wall. 4:26 p.m. I walked out in a daze, made it back to my station, and saw an email from Catherine. Subject line, "Major one call me now." Judge Mansfield had ruled in our favor, not just approved the class action, but wrote that there was clear evidence of systematic wage theft and a pattern of retaliatory conduct. The email was timestamped for 23 p.m. 3 minutes. At 4:26, Brenda was crumpling my paperwork in some petty display of power. At 4:23, a federal judge was writing that the company's treatment of me was illegal. The synchronicity was so perfect I actually started laughing on the warehouse floor. That slightly unhinged laughter that happens when the universe reveals itself to be more dramatically ironic than any movie would dare to be. Catherine said Brenda's actions that afternoon could potentially be criminal obstruction. She said this kind of behavior in the face of active litigation showed incredible arrogance, and it helped our case immensely. When I got home, Angela grabbed my face and kissed me hard. For the first time in months, I felt like I could tell Sophie that sometimes doing the right thing actually matters. The company filed appeals. They offered an insulting settlement. Catherine advised us to reject it and push for trial where everything would be public record. The local news picked it up. Other workers started reaching out. Brenda got suspended. HR suddenly became very concerned about my well-being. Discovery revealed emails where executives discussed strategies to minimize overtime costs. Every new piece of evidence made them look worse. We're scheduled for trial in September. My back still hurts every day. We still need a new roof. But I think about that moment at 4:26 p.m. when Brenda thought she had all the power, and Judge Mansfield 3 counties away proving she didn't. The timing of those two moments feels like the universe showing me that justice, messy and slow as it is, actually exists in America. It costs more than you want to pay, but it's real. And maybe that's the most American thing about this story. This stubborn belief that regular people can win if they refuse to back down. At 4:26 p.m. on that Wednesday in April, Brenda McNulty crumpled my paperwork thinking she was untouchable, and at that exact moment, she lost.